Fixed Ops Focus has arrived. Steve Shaw. One more, parts are on the way text from exploding, and Dave Rogers calmly updating the obituary. You're in good hands.
Dave Rogers, tell me a story, man. I need one.
Have you read recently some of the repair orders that come out of the service departments that you've been consulting with? I almost lost my mind today looking at some ROs, and it's a lost art sometimes, I think, for some of these younger, inexperienced, whatever you want to call them, gen whatever, to write a repair order that actually makes sense. I wanted to kill somebody today. That's all. I was ready to lose it.
Have not had the privilege of reading any repair orders lately. I'd love to hear what some people have to say. Man, I can only imagine what that would be like.
I mean, I've seen some funky ones in my entire life. I mean, I used to have some advisors that, couldn't type well and would type really dumb stuff on the repair order, or, we used to have a guy called Freddie Fumbles. He just couldn't get his fingers right, and the stuff he'd write on the repair order and the complaints were pretty hysterical. But, when I have no words for it sometimes. I mean, the customer states, it has to be abbreviated now. Nobody can write that out. It's always CS, whatever that means.
CS, yeah.
Yeah, which is not really a good way of doing it, right? Like, does a customer know what CS? They're constantly using acronyms and abbreviations. The one opcode I saw today, the opcode is MPI, and the description is MPI. Like, it doesn't say multi-point inspection. It just I don't know. You have a BDC, make the appointment, put the appointment in a screen, and for some reason, it's beneath the advisor to hit F5 and review the repair orders. They just want to print. Like, as I was explaining to the manager today, I can teach a monkey how to do that. Like, a monkey could print the RO if all he's doing is hitting the button to print. The skill is hitting F5 and reviewing it with the customer before they leave, right?
The best one I ever seen, and I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but one of a service advisor, I'm not even say who, but a service advisor that I know, when the check engine light is on, his opcode is MILF.
Great.
And I said, John, could you explain to me what MILF means? He says, yes, it's multi-function indicator lamp. And I said, I'm not sure that that's exactly what that says. Your acronym is, maybe you're dyslexic, but it's not. That is not how that works, right? So John likes to have the MILF light on his deal, and it's a fairly good size auto group, and a very high line store, and it probably goes unseen by most, but I did notice it.
Yeah, you have to be thinking that way to see it. But you're right. Like, that's kind of stuff people see it. There's going to be some woman that comes in that gets written up, or somebody that comes in or a guy's going to come in and look at his history on his repair order and see MILF as an opcode. It's gonna happen.
Listen, so the other day, we were talking about on one of our rants, we were talking about following a process and making sure everybody gets the same thing. I'm at the grocery store buying something, and I guess it was alcoholic. I'm not sure. I must have been buying something alcoholic, and the lady said, "Do you have an ID?" And I go, of course I do. So I said, I'm happy to show it to you, and how us old people, we're fine with that. And she said, the last person that was here was an older man in line, and I didn't ask him for his ID. That was fine. But then a person behind the older man, I asked for the ID, and this person went crazy. Like, how dare you ask me for an ID when you don't ask everybody else, right? And so you start thinking about these things. I'm thinking about from a car dealer perspective, just presenting one thing versus another. And they're talking about an ID at a grocery store and how people can get upset. Talk about process and how we need to take care of business correctly. We got to be careful.
We talk about hours, we talk about technician productivity, we talk about a lot of things, and the way the repair order is written up is a major part of getting these guys to diagnose the car as quick as they can. Get the car on the rack, know what the complaint is, whatever it is, road test, and it's just like I said, some of these if I was dispatching work in the shop, I would do like I told you I've done it before. Just I'd hand the tickets back to the advisor. No work would get out in the shop. Nothing would get out
Never,
there.
never, never,
Yeah,
never.
nothing because it's just ridiculous. But yeah, go back to the old school. Who, what, where, when, why, right? Who does it happen to? When does it happen, right? You ask those questions. Nothing like it. You know, I don't know. I just like I said today, and then the billing out of the repair order and stuff. But when you look at like, you know, a great write up, customer information. How many times does the day go crazy at 3 o'clock in the afternoon because you can't reach a customer, you didn't get their cell phone, you didn't get their email, you didn't ask the best way to communicate with them, right? All starts at the write up. And yeah, I mean, I just tell you, I was cracking up. I mean, some of these, I was talking to one of the techs, and I'm like, how do you fix these cars? Like, how do you do it? Oh, we got to teach these kids how to write up ROs a little bit better.
There's a podcast called Customer States. I used
Is
to
there
watch it a
really?
lot. It's called Customer States, and it's from a dealership, and these couple guys, they'll video stuff, and they'll say, Customer States, noise under car, and you go back there, and it's, the drive shaft is falling off or something. It is funny. I have to stop watching it because I'll watch 2 or 3 episodes occasionally, and I'm like, oh, I gotta stop. This is just absolutely insanity.
Yeah, I wish I would have thought about it years ago because I used to have pictures on my phone about all the goofy stuff that I saw people write up and ROs and even invoicing and stuff. I went into a shop one time and the service manager before me was disgruntled before he left. And he closed a bunch of stuff to warranty it was customer pay. He just slammed it. Obviously somebody had to clean it up. And his favorite op code on those repair orders was ganja.
What's that mean?
Ganja. It was just this big long expression in there. He just had it like basically I guess he got you or he was high when he did it. I don't know what it was, but it just yeah, he must have closed like $10,000 with to warranty that was never going to be collected. I guess to
Oh my
get his
God.
last paycheck. Yeah, yeah, he was pissed off.
But we can laugh about it all day long, and we laugh about it sometimes in our meetings or whatever. The unfortunate thing is there's a dealer's pocketbook attached to every one of these tickets. And
Sure.
I stand by what I said in one of our other rants where we said it's a litigious society, and people are. I don't think it's got to us so far in service, but they're getting finance, they're getting sales,
It's getting there.
and I stand up and I tell these guys every day, somebody's going to come in, they're going to slap you around, and we're going to lose some dealer is going to lose a lot of money because of the way something's written up, and the world's going to change. That's when it'll change.
Yeah, I mean, you remember the Firestone thing, right? I mean, that when
Yeah.
there was a dealer in Jersey that car came in, truck or whatever thing it was, a Blazer or something. Yukon came into the store. They didn't do a proper multi-point. They didn't disclose to the customer there was a bubble in the tire. Rolled their tire. They rolled their car on on a highway. On their way for a vacation. There was a multi-million-dollar lawsuit on that dealer because they didn't disclose the
Yeah.
bubble in the tire.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to bore everybody or anybody with old school, but it starts. We go back to the basics all the time, the fundamentals, the blocking and tackling, and it starts with the write up. I don't care. Appointment's an appointment, right? You know, I've always said that a customer's going to give you so much time on the phone or so much time in person to tell you what's wrong with their car, right? And a lot of times when they call, they're calling at lunch, they're calling on their way somewhere. They don't want to go into the detail when they make that phone call. Hey, my radio doesn't work. My tires are making noise. I need an oil change. Can I drop the car off at 8 o'clock? Yeah, fine. Put them in, put the appointment in. And then when you write them up, you got to go through those details, right?
Right.
And I'm
Right.
sorry, Steve, I understand that you're in a hurry this morning and that should be part of the appointment process, but we're going to need 15 minutes to get all the information from you. Well, maybe we're going to go out and look at the car. Maybe we're going to go do a walk around, depending on the situation. Not all stores have a drive-through. So I think that, that write-up area and that write-up time, it's like I said earlier, it's a lost art when I look at some of these things. Anybody can write up LOF or tire rotation, but when you get these warranty concerns, especially the premium stores, the Highlines, there's a lot of stuff that goes wrong on these cars.
Well, what's funny is, generally speaking, as you're well aware of, I get hired to teach people to sell shit, right? I get
Right.
hired to teach people to improve the repair order performance. That's bottom line is what generally I get hired for. And if I was to talk about other things, and we see it all day long, even in seminars, I'll listen. I did a seminar, 200 people the other day, and I could tell you more about those stores in the seminar. But I promise you, there are very few dealers that are going to call me and say, "Hey, Steve, will you teach my people how to write up a repair order?" And so there is a manager, a driveway manager, maybe it's the senior advisor, but there's somebody in that store that is responsible. I'm trying to think of the right word. I mean, they're charged with these things. It's a dereliction of duty if you want to go down that road. If those things happen that way, I mean, like I said, we can joke about it. It's funny as shit seeing those things, but there's going to be somebody that's going to happen to. It's going to go wrong. Wasn't restated. All of those things. The 3 C's weren't on the ticket. And this is going to be a multi-million-dollar deal. And then it'll go to what's the big, big law firm that everybody subscribes to. Then it'll go to whatever that company is. And then they'll send out a memo to everybody. What's that?
Yeah, 1
Yeah, whatever. They're going to send out a message to everybody that says, "Hey, we just had a loss. A dealer was sued for million because of a write-up." And then all of a sudden it'll get traction.
Of course it will. Of course it will.
It's nothing's going to happen until then. And nobody's going to spend $1 with me. We used to do a class on write-up. Nobody came. Nobody came. We could do a whole thing about, how to write a ticket, what to do, how to do this. Nobody ever, we know how to do that. Even our, our veterans know how to do it. Our newbies know how to do it. We're not coming to that. We got no time. Okay.
They're too cool for school. That's the problem. It really is. It's a shame. When I was up in North Jersey, at a Chrysler store, we were in limit law court probably, I don't know, 5 times a year for the in the 90s. I got my brains beat in by a judge one time because I had a service writer. Freddie Fumbles is who it was, but he wrote down that the on acceleration the vehicle chutters, CHUTTERS, and the customer was Spanish, and the judge thought that my service writer wrote it on there making fun of them for the way they talk. You had a little humor with this guy. Chutters, what do you like? The judge was actually like making these things, and he told me and the Chrysler reps to go. After we listened to the customer for a while, and it was judder, whatever you want to call it, and yeah, we wound up settling that one. He was just making fun of it. But what is a chutter, Mr. Rogers? And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't write the goddamn thing. I think you were making fun of their accent. No, Freddie's just fat fingered. He just can't type. But and that was the one thing back in the day that you did learn because, I think the domestics, Chrysler, GM, I never really worked at Ford. I was in and around Ford, but I never worked for them. They focused on that. They focused on the write-up. They focused on making sure that was there. And I don't see that anymore. Yeah, again, the training's different. Like you said, nobody wants to learn how to write up an RO. But, some of the stuff you see on these things and some of the comments you see and just the vagueness and, I don't know. You're right. There's going to be a lawsuit.
There will be. Well, even to the fact, like everybody now, puts an MPI opcode on the repair order. And I know in California, we have listeners in California, that you have to ask people's permission to do things. You have to ask people's permission to do a warranty repair. Like I can diagnose it. I can go find out this is what's wrong with it, but I'm technically supposed to call my customer and say, "May I replace this part?" or whatever. We had when I was with Ferrari, we had cars that we couldn't get warranty claims paid because the customer refused an emission recall, and Ferrari says, "Well, we're not going to pay for the warranty claim." I'm like, "No. We offered, they didn't want to do it." And they're trying to tell us we had to. I'm like, "No, the state of California says we have to get their permission to do the emission recall." And the customer didn't want the recall done because of the lack of horsepower. And so,
modification to their car. They
didn't want that. So if we don't review these things and if we don't ask these questions, I mean, we're putting ourselves at risk. And I know that back then, it's been many moons since I was with them, but people did those recalls on customers' cars and it lowered the horsepower just so it would pass emissions or whatever. Customers went nuts. That's how we ended up in court, is because we did something on the ticket that was not approved. And, if you don't stand there and restate what, I forget, you're right. However that customer shows up, whether there's an appointment, not an appointment, it does become the obligation of that service advisor to make sure that this legal document is been satisfied. All of the dots, the T's have been crossed and the I's have been dotted.
No, I agree. I mean, I've heard of crazy stories where, a dealership changed the license plate frame on the back of a car and they got sued. That was some lawyer's car. And, I back in a Chevy store, like 84 Corvettes was like anniversary model back in the day, right? And there was a recall, control arm, something, suspension wise. Dealership just went ahead and did it. And, you know, the guy he lost it because now his car wasn't, you know,
Oh, the
original,
original.
right? And then he wanted the part back, and they said, "No, you can't have it back because it's warranty." And it was just a major issue. The guy sued the dealership. So, but you know, it does start with it starts with the write up. It starts with the asking questions. I think in every state I've ever, it's you're supposed to get the customer's permission to do anything on their vehicle.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what I don't think it matters what state. I don't think California is always extreme like the way they do things, but whatever California does, New York does, Jersey's going to do, and Connecticut's going to do, and then it kind of spreads, right? It's like a fungus.
Yep.
But you know, the mindset of that that whole thing, you got to get the customer's permission. Forced me years ago when I forget what store I was in, but I forced all my advisors. Every line was written up with, at the end, it had to say check and advise
Yeah.
because I'd have technicians that would just do the work,
Oh, right.
right? And I'd get into the same issues like you said, oh, it was under warranty, it just did the work. No, no. Every line's check and advise. Every line you come back to me, you talk to me, and then I'll tell you what you can and can't do. Because I might have to call the customer and tell them, get their permission, right? And I forget what store it was in, but that was the thing. I had to make that rule because they were just renegades. They would just do work on the car. You know, oh, I thought it was under warranty, or I thought it was this. You know, I was like, wait, you thought it was under warranty. You
Well, I
know,
think that's the suck part about going into, AI is futuristic, but even on computer generated repair orders or people going paperless, I could tell you that every time I called the customer, right? Remember we used to write down on the RO, called customer, no answer, called customer at this time, right? All that stuff was covering my assets, so that I could tell my manager that I actually did my job. Maybe I didn't do a good job at write up getting the right promise time or the right callback time way
the
back when I
phone
was a
number.
kid. But every time I would call the customer, I documented it, right? And we would make our people document all these times. I can't imagine that happens anymore. I can't imagine that's documented nobody's going over the computer system and saying, I called my customer at this amount of time. I
Yeah.
couldn't, I
It's the
couldn't
nice thing
imagine that
about
happening.
texting, though. There's a record for it in texting if you do send it through the app and you text it. But that's about it. You're right. Nobody does it. Like the body shop repair orders or the folders always had the lines, right? And every time they talk to a customer, every time they talk to the agent and stuff, we used to write on the front of the ROs. If I got your permission to do the work, man, I used to fill in the little box on there that I got Steve's approval for $1,000, the last 4 year social security number.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you look at an RO now, you never see any of that ever, ever.
I think
It's amazing.
when I first started, there was like one page. It was like the second to last page of a workbook that we would talk about writing up a repair order. And what did it last? 15 minutes. And it was probably one of those things that I probably even glossed over because looking around at a room of people thinking they probably know how to do this, right? And so it was almost like, why am I talking about it? But we haven't talked about how to write up an RO in years and years and years.
It's the foundation. I really, again, I hate to, you know, it's old school. It's challenge anybody to go out and look at the repair orders and get back to basics. I had this conversation with somebody the other day about just about the fundamentals, just about getting back to it. And they were talking about new generation. I remember she was talking about new generation, the next gen people coming through, and you know, what do you think that they should focus on it. And I think a lot of them need to go back to basics and fundamentals because they're dealing with what I would say urban legend most of the time, right? They started in a store, they're a service advisor, they're listening to the guy next to them, they're listening to the girl on the other side, and they're listening to these urban legends. And then maybe, they flip a coin and they get to be a service manager. Now they're managing by urban legend. They don't even know where did this stuff come from? Why do you do that like that? They just don't know the fundamentals.
And how many people have done the grind? I mean, I know you did the grind. I did the grind. Our friends did the grind. We got our ass handed to us writing service year after year after year. And then, managing the small store and working our way, walking to school up the hill both ways. For how many years did we have to do that before somebody would hand us the keys, before someone would give us that? And now it's like, hey, you've been here for a week. You're a new manager. You
I
got
love,
the
yeah,
tenure.
I love some of the newer, the newer mentality is, they want a career path. They want to know, all right, I started last week. Can you tell me how fast it's going to take me to be the CEO? You know, you're a valet. Yeah, but I want to be the CEO. Like, how long do you think it'll take? I don't know, 10 years, 15 years. I got time for this shit. They leave. So, you know, but But maybe listen, maybe AI is the answer. Maybe we teach AI how to write a repair order. And I did, it's funny. We talked the other day. We talked, whatever, a couple weeks ago. I saw something in my email, NADA, of an app where you can talk into it and the technician notes go into the repair order, go into the system. So I got to go back and look at it. I think I bookmarked it. I want to go back and look at it. But I was thinking about that the other day because you remember you said, oh, that's a little futuristic that you could talk into a microphone and put your 3Cs in. There's somebody that has a program that does it. I got to look into it. So, maybe we're going to get that way with ROs to write the ROs. Just go voice the text and populate the repair order in the screen. Here's the customer. Here, Mr. Customer. Here's my phone. Tell the computer what's wrong with your car. I'm going to go have a cigarette.
Well, there was the kiosk, and if you had, like I have on my computer, hit function, talk to text, and everything I say, text, or now with AI, it transcribes everything. That could be the thing. And wouldn't, I guess, as a technician, wouldn't I like to actually hear in the customer's words, this is what's going on with my car? Maybe it's going to be a voice recorded repair orders, or who the hell knows? Who the hell knows?
Yeah, we just got to get better at it. I mean, the customer states is fine. I just, I love the comment customer states, and then it's something that you added on the repair order. No, not tech noted, right? It's a customer states replace broken ball joint. No, like they're just the key's a macro. CS appears before everything, right? They don't even know what the hell to write anymore. That's funny. I think the next time I go into one of these stores, I'm gonna ask some of these younger guys, what does CS stand for? Bet you there's people that don't know.
Bet you there's people that don't know what MPI means. And I promise you, I was talking about MPI in a training class not so long ago. And a guy says to me, why are you talking about multi-port injection in this class? I'm like, bro. He was a former GM tech. And I was like, okay, thank you very much. Right. So it does happen. It happens all day, every day. And the one thing I want to talk about, maybe we'll do this in our next episode, because we're starting to get a little long here, is, on the repair orders, my favorite opcode is miscellaneous.
You started on that. Yeah. It's just
Miscellaneous.
It's amazing.
What does that mean?
It is amazing to me how nobody, I think there's, we'll stay with writing a repair order. In CDK and a lot of systems, there's like quick opcodes that you use to write up a repair order. I call it a complaint code, right?
Right.
LOF, alignment, whatever. If you pre-sold something on a drive, rotation, whatever the case may be. CEL for check engine light, if you want to go that far, right? So they're quick opcodes for complaint codes, I call them, right? But then it's the billing of the repair order that people seem to, so if you want to write the RO for the miscellaneous opcode in the beginning, that shouldn't be the way you close the repair order at the end, right? And again, I go back to a monkey can write the RO. The skill is in closing it and selling, right? That's the skill of an advisor. But yes, miscellaneous, when you see closed repair orders, or you see opcode counts and you see miscellaneous as one of your top 10s. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I think I have a blood vessel that pops every time that happens. Yeah, it's right there. Yeah, I got it right there. Just talking about it, that blood vessel's ready to go. So yeah.
Wait. You told me this at your age. It doesn't bother you anymore.
There's certain things that don't bother me, but it is amazing how you get. I think being out of the store every day is better for me, health wise, because I don't know. I've always been able to maneuver around it and train people, but yeah, it's just, I have these problems. Listen, I talked to the manager of the store. I'm like, did you ever notice this stuff? And it's like, no. I just never noticed it. Hopefully the podcast will get it through to some people. I've got some good feedback lately. I do think paying it forward and maybe revisiting the basics and revisiting what people look at, just a reminder, if that's all it is for people. Not trying to sell you anything. I don't have a vendor here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're not like those famous guys that have 5 nights in a month and just vendor after vendor. We're not like that. We're trying to give people the basics and fundamentals. Because I think it's a lost art. I think it's a lost art.
It's definitely a lost art. We better wrap it up. But give us a GM tip of the day, and then let's get the hell out of here.
Listen, GM tip of the day, I would just, you want to have some fun one day, grab some repair orders, some closed ones out of the cashier booth, bring them into your office, and just read through them. Read what the advisor wrote.
Leave the automotive news magazine for another day.
What?
Leave the automotive news magazine for another day and
put that aside.
Read your ROs.
just grab 10. Just grab 10 and just read through them. Maybe do it with your service advisor and, I don't know, one of the advisors in the room, and just lighten up a little bit, have some fun and read through it, then see what maybe could be improved. Because Steve brings up a great point. You got to be looking out for the lawsuit. You got to be looking out for, like, again, what they write on these repair orders sometimes might just shock you. So that would be my tip of the day.
Awesome. Well, it's good talking to you again, and I'll catch up to you soon.
All right, man. I'll talk to you.
Fixed ops focus could lead to rapid throughput gains, promise time miracles, and growth that actually sticks to the wall. Hit like and subscribe on every platform, or risk developing acute parts are coming tomorrow delusion, chronic CSI migraines, and terminal fixed ops despair. In extreme cases, your dealership may self-diagnose as hopeless. Consult your podcast now.